Hey, how's it going? SonOfDonnie here, and today we're going to be discussing team roles in Rainbow Six Siege. These roles are overarching general responsibilities that fall upon a given player. As a hero-based game, it's natural that some operators are better suited for certain roles than others. Many operators do one or a few things very well but may lack in other areas, and that's where their teammates come in to fill in those gaps. On the attacker side, we'll be looking at entry fraggers, supports, and flex operators, where each one has a more specific purpose to execute any given strategy. Defenders are a bit different in that most, if not all, defenders fall within a spectrum between anchors and roamers. These defender roles are a bit more fluid and subject to change in a round more often than on the attacker side. For both sides, their roles are mostly defined by their kit and what it's best suited for. Mostly, it comes down to their primary gadget and what it is specifically tailored to do and how it is deployed. After that, you take into account what their secondary gadgets offer them and what kind of guns they have, as they play a major role in positioning. With all that said, let's start off on the attacker side. The attacking team's primary goal in any given round is to execute a plan to claim that game mode's objective. For bomb, it's to plant the diffuser. For secure area, it's to enter the room and secure the area. Hostage is to extract the hostage back to a safe point near spawn. With that in mind, it's necessary for any teammate to recognize their particular role in claiming that objective. Entry fraggers are vital momentum gaining players that most often enter the map first and try to get a few picks early round. When doing this, they are often roam clearing, which means it's their job to seek out and find roaming defenders and take them out. This allows their teammates to more safely maneuver around the map with the confidence of man advantage and less paranoid that they'll be snuck up behind when they're trying to perform their jobs. An entry fragger's kit is usually comprised of a form of soft destruction to enter and reconstruct the map and powerful weaponry that will aid them in getting those early round kills. The first example that comes to mind is Ash. Ash's primary gadget is designed to make large holes in soft destructible surfaces, and her guns are nothing to be scoffed at. On top of that, she's a 3-speed, and if I may metagame and go on a bit of a tangent, 3-speeds tend to be among the top fraggers of all the operators due to their ability to take advantage of what's known as Peeker's advantage. It's essentially somebody coming around a corner will have the millisecond advantage in a gunfight because by the time their position is transmitted to you and on your screen, they will have already seen you on their screen, thus they see you before you see them. This is most prevalent in 3-speeds and is something that makes Ash a particularly strong entry fragger. A few other entry fraggers include Zofia, Sledge, Buck, and Jackal, as each of them have kits designed to get into maps and gadgets that aid them in flushing out defenders from their hiding spots. An entry fragger is usually someone who can be aggressive and can consistently win gunfights, so keep that in mind when filling this role. Next we have our supports. A support's job is often to breach an objective wall and to aid their entry fraggers when they are entering a map. These players are often the ones doing most of the droning for their entry fraggers and making callouts to make their teammates' jobs easier. Most supports have kits designed to hard breach reinforced surfaces or aid hard breachers in the breaching process by removing defender utility. For instance, Thatcher and Thermite go very well together as a duo support combination because Thatcher can disable anything stopping Thermite from opening a wall, and then Thermite then opens that wall. For this reason, your support should be generally the last ones to leave spawn as to mitigate the chance of getting picked off early round, because if they die early and before getting a chance to perform their job, this sabotages most site takes and can be an early loss of momentum in a round. A support's playstyle is far more cautious for this reason, and is why they'll be doing most of the droning and planting the diffuser in the bomb game mode. I would say if you're a newer player, consider the supporting role, as this feels a satisfying and team-oriented experience that I believe most exemplifies what Siege is at its core. Some operators to check out would be the aforementioned Thatcher and Thermite, as well as Ace and Twitch. Lastly, for the attackers, let's take a look at flex operators. As the name may suggest, these operators are more flexible than other operators and can fill a variety of roles, as they can often do a little bit of everything. A flex operator's primary goal is to back up and watch their entry fraggers' backs when advancing through the map, using their gadgets to do so. For instance, Nomad can place flank securing devices that will knock an enemy defender down and make a loud sound cue to notify the attackers of their presence. Flex operators' kits are generally suited to slot into almost any role necessary if your entry fraggers or supports happen to die. They're kind of like the second string players that dress just in case they're needed. Operators with flank watch or flank secure gadgets are best suited for the flex role. So ops like Gridlock, Dokkaebi, and Zero excel in this field. If you're trying to ease into a more frag heavy playstyle, try out some flex ops as they bridge the gap between entry frag and support. Shifting now to the defender side of the game, things here are a bit different. As I said earlier, defender operators tend to fall within a spectrum of heavy anchoring to heavy roaming playstyles. That is to say that some operators are more likely to stay on or near site for the duration of the round, and others are more likely to be roaming around the map. Essentially, an anchor's job is to hold down the fort as they're the last line of defense between the attackers and their objective. They tend to be the heavier 3 armors and have guns with longer range scopes to hold longer angles. They're also the most responsible for gathering intel as they're the safest in sight and thus can be using observation tools more often. Ops that do very well in this regard would be Rook or Doc, as their gadgets give them and their team more health and have access to easy to use guns that can be used to hold angles pretty well, while other anchors like Mira, Echo, and Maestro are a bit more active in their information gathering techniques. Also, since the introduction of the reinforcement pool, where reinforcements are shared amongst all players, anchors are primarily responsible for setting up reinforcements as they're the ones that will be playing off them the most. This doesn't mean that other players shouldn't reinforce, but ops with a lot of utility to disperse around the map shouldn't feel pressured to set up any more than one reinforcement, as it is the anchor's job in the prep phase to reconstruct and modify the site to their needs. My recommendation to new players is that they more passively anchor on defense just to get a sense of the gunplay, and then start to expand their plays down to more active one where they can learn new angles and experiment with site reconstruction. Some operators to check out here for a new player would be Rook and Echo. Roamers, alternatively, tend to be the lighter, 1 armor 3 speeds and can easily make their way around a map in a timely manner. A roamer's primary objective in any round is to waste the time of the attackers, not necessarily to get kills. Often the best way to waste time is to get frags, but if a roamer can stop an attacker push and drain even something like 45 seconds of their time, they will have done their job effectively. As a roamer, the last thing you want to do is run away from an engagement. Make your presence known and stand your ground, because attackers will have to deal with you if they want to be able to advance through the map safely. It's your job as a roamer to force attackers to use utility that they would otherwise have to execute in the final seconds of a round. Speaking of the final seconds of the round, always think to yourself, the more time I waste, the less they have to comfortably execute. One of the most effective time waster roamers is Vigil. His gadget cloaks him from view of enemy observation tools, and this in turn makes attackers far more wary of their corners when he's around. He can enter engagements on his terms more often than other operators, and this makes him a potent threat. Many roamers have kits designed with time wasting in mind, be it practical like Melusi's Banshees that force attackers to literally slow down, or more psychological like the effect Vigil's presence has on attackers' confidence in entering a room. Some prominent roamers include Bandit, Ella, and Caveira, and I would suggest that before picking up a roamer, do your best to learn map layouts, as that will greatly serve your ability to make effective flanks, set up rotations, and make effective callouts for your team. Most of the other 2 armor 2 speed defenders fall somewhere in between these two playstyles and have gadgets and guns that make them lean one way or the other. For instance, Legion is a 2 armor 2 speed trap operator, but his traps replenish over the course of a round, so to see the most value from his gadget, he's often closer to sight and more of an anchor as a result. On the flip side, another 2 armor 2 speed trap operator like Kapkan can place his traps and leave them for the rest of the round. Due to this more passive gadget, he's freer to roam around the map to halt attacker pushes. Some 2 armor semi-anchors to look out for are Legion, Wamai, and Smoke, and some 2 armor semi-roamers to check out would be Jaeger, Kapkan, and Mazi. All defenders can slot into a particular role if the situation calls for it. Sometimes the best play is to have an anchor flank the enemy, and sometimes a roamer needs to be closer to sight. Defender roles are far more fluid than the rigid and specific attacker roles, and this, in part, contributes to the defender-sided nature of the game. If you're interested in picking up a particular operator, there's no better way to learn than to just try them out. be it in online multiplayer or even just training grounds. Experiment with their loadouts and actively try to use their gadgets in unique and interesting ways. What kind of playstyle do you enjoy most, and what kind of operator deep dive would you like to see me cover in the future? Leave your answers in the comments down below, and don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing to see more content like this. Thank you so much for your time, and I will see you very soon.